Hi guys, this is Mitrajit Golsinghi. I'm a Flutter developer in DSC VIT Pune. So today I'm going to be teaching you like the basics of Python. So we're going to be carried forwarding the part research tool, right? So let's get started. So what are we going to learn today? So we'll start small and we'll go big. Okay. So we are going to be first learning about control statements. Okay, so I'm going to be talking in English, so if you don't understand anything, please message me. I'll be sure to explain it. Okay. So control statements. So unlike Uday Bhai here, control statements are a little different in programming language. So anybody of you who has a little programming knowledge know what does it control? Like, क्या control करेगा? चलो guys, I'm watching the chat section here. Okay. Yeah. Mahi is saying decisions. Good, good. Who is this? Varun. Varun said program flow. So yeah, that is pretty close. So it will, what we can say, it will control the program execution flow. Okay. So those of you don't know, program execution flow क्या होता है? It is like the part from which your interpreter reads the line, it interprets it. So the sequence in which it does it, it is known as the program execution flow. So control statements has this special ability to make a branch in that program execution flow. ठीक है? So हम type सीखेंगे पहले और then we'll go to the code. ठीक है? So there are three main types. क्या types है? तो पहला तो selective है. So selective, as you can see, it will check a condition. If that condition is met, it will do certain tasks. If that condition is not met, it will do another set of tasks, and then it will again merge in the main program execution flow. ठीक है, तो ये selective हो गया. Then there is the iterative one. So iterative क्या करेगा? Iterative will repeat the same thing again and again until the condition is satisfied, and only after the condition is satisfied it can proceed further from that loop. Okay, तो किसी ने बोला था loop, माही ने I guess. So that is the iterative control statement. ठीक है. Then there is the jump control statement. So jump control statements क्या करेगा? So jump control statements will create a branch which is unconditional branch. Okay. So yeah, just a second. Let me restart my camera. There's some problem. Okay, fine. So jump control statements क्या करेगा? It will create a branch which is unconditional branch. So it will not check any branches for it. Okay. So ये तो theory part हो गया. I don't like theory much. So let's get our hands dirty. So हम क्या करेंगे? We'll move on to the coding part. ठीक है. तो as you can see, so we'll be starting with control statements. तो selective control statements में the most what we can say famous one is the if, else if and else loop. ठीक है. तो I've taken an example here. Say मुझे भूख लग गई. I'm really hungry now. Okay. So I want to write a program to check if the person is hungry or not. तो मैं क्या करूँगा? I'll do if hungry मैंने एक variable बोल दिया. So anybody knows what type of variable this is?
Boolean.
Yeah, that's perfect. So that's the Boolean data type. ठीक है. So मैंने hungry बोल के एक variable define कर दिया. And what I'm doing is I'm checking if hungry. Now the people who have worked with C, C++, Java might find this syntax a little bit funny. Okay. क्योंकि हम क्या करते हैं? What we do in C, C++, we do like if we have a condition and then we have some bracket and then we write our code here, right? This is what we do. But अभी तो इधर ऐसा कुछ है ही नहीं. So what is this? Python is known for its simplicity, right? So okay, I am getting like is my camera still off? Okay, so I'll just change the settings. Okay. दिखा? Cool. अभी इधर मैंने क्या किया, सो व्हाट आई डिड वाज, मैं बोल रहा था कि वी यूज ब्रैकेट्स इन जनरल इन प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेजेस, राइट, बट पाइथन इज नोन फॉर इट्स सिंप्लिसिटी. तो सिंप्लिसिटी मतलब क्या होता है कि पाइथन डज नॉट यूज ब्रैकेट्स ओनली, इंस्टेड इट यूजेस इंडेंटेशन. सो इफ यू सी, ये जो प्रिंट स्टेटमेंट है, आई हैव इंडेंटेड दैट. It is not like this print statement. I've added some spaces after it. So what the interpreter will do, it will consider all the indented text inside the loop here, right? So uh, again, so the bracket need is completely gone, and this colon is used to specify like after this point the loop is starting. So इंटरप्रेटर जब ये कोलन दिखेगा तो वो बोलेगा ओके, इसके बाद से जो है वो मेरा लूप चालू हो रहा है, ठीक है. सो व्हाट आई एम डूइंग हियर इज आई एम चेकिंग इफ हंग्री, एंड इफ आई एम हंग्री आई एम प्रिंटिंग नीड टू ईट, बट इफ आई एम and then it will print back to work. So this statement is outside the if loop, meaning it will be executed irrespective of this condition. Okay, so if I execute this, so you will see it is printing need to eat and then back to work. Okay. Now if I make this false, what will happen, guys? Okay, it is not printing need to eat. Okay. So this was basic if condition. तो अभी इस part तक कोई doubt है तो पूछो chat box में, I'll answer that. Okay, I can see. Do we have to use quotes in the print statement in Python? Yeah. So that's a good question. Now I need to print a string, right? So I need to declare a string here. So I am declaring a string using quotes. So if I do something like s equal to need to eat. Now this is stored in a variable, right? S. So I can directly print s here, and it will give me the same output. Like when you want to print strings, you need quotes, but if you want to print variables, you don't need quotes. Okay. Okay. How do you print multiple statements in if condition? Okay, good. So as I said, Python uses indentation, right? So all the statements which are indented, so I can say S1, I can also say S2. So as you can see, these all are indented, right? These are as long as the statements are indented, it will be considered inside the if loop. So all of these statements will be printed. ठीक है. Now moving on, if condition तो हो गया, but if you see here, if my like hungry variable is set to false, okay, my mouse is acting up. Okay. If I set this to false, what is printing is only back to work. So the user who is going to read this, he doesn't know like what is actually, is he hungry or not, right? So what we can do, इस flowchart में देखा कि condition no है तो क्या करेंगे, we can use the else clause. So in else clause you can print like the statement which you want when the condition is false. Okay, so if the condition is false, else clause will be executed, otherwise the if clause will be executed. So अब ये execute करें तो क्या होगा, hungry false है, so it will print not hungry and back to work. Now the user has a good idea about what is going on around. ठीक है, but there is still a problem here. Say अभी तो I was selfish, मैं तो सिर्फ मेरे बारे में ही सोच रहा था, ठीक है. If say I have a friend, अभी कौन है, अभी क्वेश्चन किसने पूछा था, अक्षय है, तो अक्षय मेरा फ्रेंड है, ठीक है. तो अभी तो उसे भी भूख लग गई है यार, पर मैं तो उसके बारे में कुछ सोच ही नहीं रहा, ठीक है. तो what we can do is we can add an elif clause. What an elif clause will do, so it is an abbreviation for else if. Okay, so they've clubbed the two words together, else or if, they've clubbed it to elif, ठीक है. So in elif clause, what this elif clause does, it will first check if I am hungry. If this condition is false, then it will go to this one. Now it will check this condition. Say friend is hungry. Say Akshay is hungry. If Akshay is hungry is true, it will print this and exit the if else ladder. ठीक है. But अगर ये भी hungry नहीं है, then it will print nobody is hungry and back to work. Okay, got it? So this is a really good way, and you can add multiple elif clauses. Like I can also add, say, elif, who is there? Say Sanika hungry, and I can make a variable here. Okay, so you get the point. So there is no limit to how many elif clauses you can add. So that is a really good way of what we can say, checking multiple conditions using the same thing. Okay. So this was the basic about if, elif, and else. So I've prepared a small question. So all of you have to attempt it and give me the answer in the chat box. I'll wait 1 or 2 minutes. So this is the question right here. And till then, if anybody has any doubts in here, please feel free to ask me. चलो guys, जिसको solution आता है, put it in the chat box. It's not that hard. Good. I can see Aditya's solution. I can see Yash's solution. दो ही लोगों को आता है. Great, guys. You are really smart people, huh? if this is your first time, you really nailed it. Okay, great. So what are we doing? We are checking the we are writing a program to check if the number is even, odd, or zero, right? So what all solutions I can see is checking for even case. Now what is my number is 0. So what I'll do, first of all, I'll say if num%2 equal to 0, I can print, say, even, right? ठीक है. अब problem इसमें क्या है? If my number is 0, it will still print even. I want to explicitly say if my number is 0. So this is a correct solution if you want to check even or odd. So what you have to do is first check if num equal to 0. And if my num equal to 0 is true, I will first print 0. Then if my num%2 is equal to 0, I'll print even, or else, oh, I made a mistake here. It should be elif, or else I'll print, say, odd. Okay. So this is the complete solution. So first of all, it will check 0 because I explicitly mentioned or 0, right? So I need to know if the number is 0. So abhi ye 12 print karega even hai, and for the rest of the cases. So you can just take it hands-on after, at the end of the session, we are going to provide you with all the resources. So you can just solve it for each of the cases there. Yeah, Varun has posted the complete solution. So that is exactly correct, Varun. Cool. So now this was basic about the conditional or the selective statements, right? Now moving on to the iterative statements. Now iterative again has 3 parts, which is the for loop, the for each loop, and the while loop. So as Serge mentioned that you will be learning loops later. So this is this later part. Okay. So अभी से मुझे बहुत भूख लगी है, ठीक है? If I am really hungry, like बहुत ही hungry. So what I need to do, I need to say, keep on printing I am hungry till somebody responds or somebody reads it, gets annoyed, and finally decides to feed me. Okay, so let's just assume मुझे नहीं आता खाना बनाना. So what I can do, I can just simply print I am hungry again and again and again. Okay, but ये बहुत what we can say, it's too much efforts. Like I don't want to do that. Programmers are really lazy people. They don't want to put so much efforts in it, right? So what I can do, I can simply copy paste it. Okay, तो ये paste कर दूंगा. But this is also too lengthy. 4 lines, 5 lines. अभी तो 4 line में हो रहा है. But if I want to write 100 lines, I can simply copy paste it, right? So what I need to do, what I can do in fact, is use a loop. So what will the loop do? It will repeat the same thing again and again until the condition is met, right? If you remember. So like if you see, ये range function है, ये क्या है मैं 2 मिनट में बताऊंगा. But if you see, I've given a range of 10. So it will print I am hungry 10 times. It's just taking me one line of code. If I say 20 here, it will print it 20 lines, and I just need to say change one digit over there, right? So again, same thing. If you are getting confused, Python uses indentation, right? So we are not using any brackets but indentation. Okay. Now coming to the range function, ये range function क्या है? So if you know like for loop कैसे basic work करेगा, तो ये क्या करेगा? We will have a variable, say counter variable I. Yeah, exactly right, Gaurav. We have 0 to n numbers, right? So we have a counter I, which is starting at 0, and it will keep on incrementing, which is it one will be added again and again to it until it is less than this number, right? So range क्या करेगा? Basically it will do that. Okay, so right now you need to know that much only, because उसमें ज़्यादा है ही नहीं कुछ. So basically you can do that. So अभी ये क्या होगा? If I say 2 here for simplicity sake, फर्स्ट जीरो होगा, ये एग्जीक्यूट होगा, ये जो भी कोड है इसके अंदर, ऑल द कोड अंडर दिस विल बी एग्जीक्यूटेड, देन द काउंटर विल बी इंक्रीमेंटेड, इट विल गो टू 1. ठीक है, इफ इज 1 लेस देन 2, सो इट्स ट्रू. नाउ इट विल प्रिंट आई एम हंग्री. इज 2 लेस देन 2, सो इज 2 लेस देन 2 गाइस? नहीं है ना, 2 is equal to 2, 2 is not less than 2. So it will, what we can say, it will stop the execution there, it will stop the loop there, it will break the loop. Okay, so yeah, क्या question है? It will go on to work till n or n minus 1. Yeah, that's a good question. So if you say it is less than, then what is the condition? You only tell me. If it is less than n, it is n minus 1. If it is less than or equal to n, it is n, right? So ये जो condition है, this is less than n, so it will go on to work till n minus 1. Okay, I hope that clears your doubt. Okay, yeah, I got it. Cool. So ये तो basic for loop था, ठीक है? Now say I have a certain set of people. मैं हूँ, तुम हो. Say I will take Samir and I'll take Anshul, ठीक है? So I have these set of people. So what I need to do is I need to tell the person that I am hungry, you are hungry, so Samir is hungry, Anshul is hungry. And say, if I take a list, right now we don't have the time, but say I take a list of all the people, like we have 214 people right now, and I need to print it. So how can I do it? So there is one way of using the conventional for loop, right? Like Serge told you, we have an indexing kind of concept, like people of 0. If I print people of 0, it will give me I. If I print people of 1, it will give me U. So what we can do in for loop, we can use I wala concept, and it will increment the counter and it can print it. But it sounds too complicated. Yeah. Like Python is known for its simplicity, so नहीं करना इतना complicated. Why to? Right? तो क्या करेंगे? We'll use a for each loop. तो for each क्या होता है? It will iterate through each element of a sequence, not only a list. Mind you, a sequence, like it can be a tuple, it can be a dictionary. ठीक है? तो it will iterate through each of the element. So what does this mean? Like, so if you see, we are using the in operator, like, right? So in operator क्या करेगा? It will iterate through each of these elements in the list. So for I in people, this is pretty intuitive, right? For I in people, what I'm doing, I'm printing I is hungry. So ये क्या करेगा? Each of the list का जो element है, इसकी value ये ले लेगा, I वाला जो. So if I print this, you can see it is printing I is hungry, you is hungry, Samir, Anshul, and whatever data we have further down, it will print it. Okay. So क्या है? How is the loop working out without initializing the value of I? Okay, that's a really good question. So Python, in Python, I की जो value है, I presume you have worked in C or C++. So in Python, when you declare a for loop, I की जो value है, it is by default set to 0. Okay, so you need not explicitly define it. But if you want some other value, you can use the range function. Like I can specify the value from 2 to 10. So if I specify it like this, it will I will be starting at 2 and it will be ending at 9 because it's less than 10, right? Did you get it, Pragati? Good. Okay. और सर मत बोलो यार. I'm just 1 or 2 years older than you. Okay. So okay, Varun का भी एक question है. While using loop, by default the value of I starts from 0. Okay, Varun, thank you for that clarification. Okay, great. हाँ, that's more like it. भैया ही ठीक है. Now ठीक है, तो for each loop पे थे हम. So for each में मैंने just like I said, I will take the value of each element, right? So when I say for I in people, it is printing the value of each element of in the list. But if you see, this is not really sounding good. Like Samir is hungry, ये तो ठीक है, पर you is hungry ऐसे कोई नहीं बोलता. So what we can do, we can combine the two statements, ठीक है? So what we can do is simply say for I in people, ठीक है? तो this is the for each loop, and I've combined the conditional statements here. So I'm saying if I का जो value है ये I है, तो I'm making the verb as am. If I का जो value है वो you है, I'm making the verb as are. Else I'm making the value as is. So what this will do is say I am hungry, you are hungry, Samir is hungry. Now this is a really grammatically correct sentence, right? So you can make a lot of things just using the simple for each loop and a conditional statement. So like these are the basics of any programming language, not only Python. So if you have these in your pocket, nobody can stop you from doing anything. Okay? So like this is the most basic part which you need to know. ये आ गया तो programming आ गया. Cool. So this was about the for loop. Okay? Now again there is a question here. So I have some boilerplate code here. So by referencing this, you need to solve this question. Till that time, if you have any doubts, please feel free to ask. I'll wait 1 or 2 minutes. बहुत fast नहीं हो रहा ना? Is the pace okay? Great, thanks Anshul. So any doubts guys? चलो चलो जल्दी, कोई डाउट्स नहीं है तो सॉल्यूशन चाहिए फिर. I want the solution if you have no doubts. Okay, Sanika is saying something. Termination is also not needed in for. Yeah, okay. So if you see, as I said, ये जो काउंटर है अपना I वाला जो काउंटर है, it will keep on incrementing and a condition is checked. Okay, so if you like open up a little bit of the syntax, what will happen, it will say like ऐसा syntax होता है, ठीक है? So I जो है वो 0 होगा and it will check a condition, say I is less than 10. So until this condition is true, this loop will keep on running itself. The moment this condition becomes false, this loop will exit. ठीक है? तो automatically Python क्या करता है, ये जो increment वाला function है, increment counter वाला, ये वो automatically अपने आप से कर लेता है. So we don't have to do explicitly in what we can say, we don't explicitly need to increment the counter. Okay. So I can see some solutions. The latest one is of Mayank. For I in L, if num equal to num, yes. Okay, I'm just copy pasting your solution, Mayank. So let's see if it's correct. So, okay. Great. So yeah, this is right. So what I need to do, I need to set the is num present true and simply check if my is num present equal to true. I need not explicitly define that. If I just say this, it will automatically check for if it is true. I can say present, or I can say else print not present. ठीक है. So अब 510 नंबर है क्या इसमें? नहीं है. ठीक है. So let's see if Mayank was right. Okay, great. So 510 तो not present आ रहा है, और इसमें कौन सा नंबर है? 32 है. ठीक है. So 32 लेंगे. So if 32 is present, it will print present. So fantastic job, everyone. Like not only Mayank, whoever posted in the chat box. Like I can see Mayank's latest, so I'm calling his name. But anyone who posted in the chat box did a fantastic job. Okay, great. So this was about the for each loop. So this was the second part of the iterative control statements. Third part जो है वो while loop है. ठीक है. So the difference between for loop and while loop is that, as I said, for loop जो है it will increment the counter, but while loop will simply check a condition, a boolean condition like our if clause. ठीक है. So once I say hungry is true, the while loop will keep on executing itself until this condition is made false. So there is no counter business over here in the while loop. ठीक है. तो मैंने बोला वैसे कि मुझे भूख लग गई. You cannot stop me from not being hungry. So what it is doing, it is saying print still hungry, and it is taking my input if I am still hungry. If I say yes, it will keep on repeating itself until I specifically say no. And why no? Because I have said if my input is no, I am making the hungry false. And when my hungry is false, this loop will be exited. Okay. Now another difference, if you notice in the for loop and the while loop, is that even if I make this hungry false to begin with, okay, what will happen is that, अच्छा नहीं, इधर नहीं, my bad. So if I like पहले ही false कर दिया तो execute ही नहीं होगा. But if I like make this hungry false on the first time it asks me, it is still going to print first time that still hungry is there. Okay, so ये क्या होगा? Even if this condition is false on the first iteration itself, this will be still executed at least once. So you should keep that in mind कि while loop at least once execute होता है. ठीक है. So अगर if you have some complicated logic, you should always keep that in mind because it might cause some problems. ठीक है. So this was about while loop. Now like ये तो iterative के बारे में था. So if you nail this much part, you actually don't need much of anything else in programming. Like this is the core logic part of the programming languages which is happening. ठीक है. Now we coming to the jump statements. ठीक है. तो अभी मैंने ये पिछला वाला ही एग्जांपल ले लिया जो अपना मयंक ने सॉल्व किया था. ठीक है. So that's the same solution which I have made here. Now in Mayank's solution, what was happening is that once my for loop was encountering the number which I was looking for, like say 32. So what would happen, like पहले 1 से check होता था, फिर 2 से, फिर 45 से, and that input check with 32. So once it was 32 equal to 32, I technically need not go further in the list, right? I could just simply go out and say that the number is present. But in this logic, it was completing the whole iteration because it doesn't, the for loop doesn't know that this is the terminating condition, right? For loop तो अपना बेचारा जब तक list है तब तक चलता रहेगा. So it does not know that this is the terminating condition that I want. So what we need to do is that we need to externally tell the for loop that bhaiya, if this condition is encountered, please stop. Don't make yourself do extra work. So this is where the break statement comes in. Okay. So once I say for I in L, if I equal to num, and I call this break statement, तो क्या होगा? For loop suddenly exit हो जाएगा. As I said, jump statements do not check conditions. It will directly create a branch. So suddenly exit ho jayega. So the same output will be there. Like if I say 32 hai, so the same output will be there, number is present, but the logically part is that it will not iterate through all of these values. So this is the significance of the break statement. Okay. Okay, so I can see a question here. Kya question hai? So while loop in Python is similar to do while loop in C, right? Okay, that is an interesting question. So do while loop में क्या होता है कि yeah, you can say that. Yeah, you can say that because Python does not have a do while loop. At least I'm not aware about it. So you can say that. Okay, so ठीक है, तो ब्रेक स्टेटमेंट तो हो गया, ठीक है. देन देयर इज अ पास स्टेटमेंट. सो पास स्टेटमेंट क्या होता है? सो विल बी लर्निंग अबाउट फंक्शन डेफिनेशन एंड एवरीथिंग a little bit later, like here it's right down here, but let's say you need a function, some function, and you know you need it, but you are not sure like exactly what the logic is going to be, or you are not sure what to exactly put inside that function. So अभी मैं ऐसे सिर्फ डिफाइन कर दिया, ऐसे ऐसे बोल के छोड़ दिया. So what it will happen is that it will give me an error saying कि भैया you have given a colon, so you need to put something inside that function, but I don't know what to put, right? So I can simply say pass. What will happen is that the interpreter will simply say okay, pass hai, it will ignore anything. So once you say pass, it will not do anything, it will simply continue to the further steps. Okay, so that is a really good use of pass, which is the most common use. Also, say you are importing a module or a library, say MLFest library. Abhi you can see a yellow line ki you could not be resolved. Like I don't have a MLFest library right now, so it will throw an import error. So I need not necessarily show the error, or I need not stop the execution just because I don't have a library. It is an optional dependency, say. So I can simply use pass. It will just carry on. It will not say it is not what we can say. It will not keep on giving me that error ki nahi, you need to import MLFest. Okay, so that was about jump statements. So any doubts, guys? Is there a difference between pass and continue? Okay, so to be frank, I don't use jump statements beyond break myself, so I don't exactly know, but I will try to answer your question. Like as far as I know, continue will be used in a for loop where you want to skip that iteration and continue the rest of the loop, whereas pass statement, as you can see, it will just what we can say, ignore the part which is given there. Okay, so if you are not clear with that, I'm extremely sorry, but I don't use jump statement myself that much, so I'll read on it and I'll get back to you. Okay, Divyanshu, yeah, so I'll get back to you on that. That's a good question. Okay, now okay, OJS is saying, Bhaiya, can you please explain this again, the break wala code? Okay, okay. So what we'll do, we'll go iteration by iteration. Okay. So for I in L, क्या होगा? I will be 1 initially, right? So I will be 1 initially. It will check if I equal to num. मतलब if 1 is equal to 32. तो 1 equal to 32 तो नहीं है, ठीक है? So this condition will be false. तो क्या होगा? Nothing will happen because if statement में ये दोनों है, right? This is indented inside the if statement, if you see. So this will not be executed. Counter will be incremented, or will I की value होगी 2. So the value will be 2. Now if the value is 2, it will check 2 is equal to 32. नहीं होगा. Again the same thing happen. 45. Again the same thing will happen. Now 32 will be equal to 32. ठीक है? Now if my 32 is equal to 32, this statement will be executed. Print number is present. ये होने के बाद break statement will be executed. And once this break statement is encountered, the for loop का iteration जो है, it will stop. This will directly exit from that for loop. ठीक है. So further you will not iterate through all of these steps. It will directly exit from that for loop. Did you get that, Ojas? Okay, great. So coming to list comprehension, ठीक है. तो list comprehension जो part है, that is like my most favorite part of Python. So like as I said, at least I am, not in general programmers, there may not be, but I am really lazy person, right? I don't like to write code. So what I can do is say you have learned for loop, right? So give me a say I have some application and I want to make a list of numbers from 0 to 9. So how I can do it, as I have said here, like for I in range 10, I can do l dot append I. So ये append क्या करेगा? It will basically append in that list. So I guess Saharsh told you, right? So it will append in that list. What it will append? I. So it will start with 0, end with 9, and I will have a list from 0 to 9. Okay. So I have a list from 0 to 9. That's good. But I need to write 4 lines of code. And as you know, I'm lazy. So what I will do, that Python provides a really good solution for this laziness problem. So I can club all of these 3 lines into a single line of code. Okay. So if you see here, what I'm doing is I'm doing I for I in range 10. So like I'll write it down again. It might be a little confusing. So I'll say L equal to a list. Okay. So I declared a list here. This is the line which I did in number 1. Line number 1, this is the same thing. Okay. Now what I can do is I need a list of 10 numbers, right? So I can do for I in range 10. Okay. So this is the for loop which I did in second. And I can simply append an I here. Now what it will do, it will make a list of numbers from 0 to 9 for this range. So if I execute this part, if you see, I get the same output and I'm saving 2 lines of code. I can do all of that in a single line. So like that's a really neat and compact way to make a list of or a sequence from like iterative method. Okay, so 1 minute. I can see 2 really large questions. Okay, so Shruti is asking, if I don't want to print the if part or the true part to be implemented and I only want the else part to be executed, then would I use pass after between if and else statement? Executed. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you will receive the drive link after the session is over. Okay. Now Pranali is saying, okay, yeah. So Pranali has already mentioned it. Okay, that's great. Okay. So, okay, where was I? In the list comprehension, right? So as you can see, I can write all of these 3 lines of code into a single line. So that's a really good way of making a list or a dictionary or a tuple if you want sequential data. So अभी ये तो बहुत simplistic approach था. So let's take a real life example, ठीक है? So if say I am working on a geometric example and I want to do all I want to do is I have a list of points, ठीक है? So guys, ये कौन सा data type है? Which is this data type? Guys, come on. कौन सा data type है? Bore हो गए? Yeah, that's a tuple. Great. So this is a list of tuples, right? This is a list of tuples. So what I want to do is I want to separate the x coordinate and y coordinate of the point. So what I will do, I of 0. What is I of 0? For I in points. So my I is in points, meaning my I will return this tuple, right? Because this is a list of tuples. And my I of 0 will be the x coordinate, because it's a xy pair, like point hai, and I of 1 will be the y coordinate. So I can simply do I of 0 for I in points and I of 1 for I in points, and it will simply separate my x coordinate and y coordinate. ठीक, 1357 ये मेरा x coordinate हो गया और 2468 मेरा y coordinate हो गया. So that is so simply what you can say separated. Like you can do this in the regular way, but the code is lengthy, it is difficult to understand. This is really nice and simple. ठीक है. So this was about like a real life example. Ab you say you don't know that a point is an ordered pair. Okay, you may sometimes write like y coordinate first and x coordinate later. So say you don't know basic maths, but say I don't know basic maths. You know, you are smart people. Say I don't know basic maths, so I want to explicitly mention like what is the x coordinate and what is the y coordinate. Okay, so what I can do, I can make a list of dictionaries. So I have defined a dictionary here, and I'm making the key as x and the value as I of 0, y and the value as I of 1. So if I execute this, see, if my x, okay, I just forgot to take out this. Okay. If you see, if it is giving me x equal to 2, y equal to 1, x equal to 3, y equal to 4, x equal to 5, y equal to 6. ठीक है. Now I again want some condition. Say मुझे ऐसे ही points चाहिए जो 5 जिसका x coordinate है जो 5 है. ठीक है. I only want points which has x coordinate equal to 5. So you can do it using conventional for loop, right? For I in points, if I equal to 5, then only append it or don't do it. Okay. But Lisp comprehension also provides such functionality. So I can simply do if I of 0, which is the x coordinate, equal to 5, I can simply, what I can say, only the points which are matching this condition will be appended and none of the other points will be appended. ठीक है. So देखो ये हमारा possibly 5-6 lines का code है. We have just compressed it into single line of code. So that is the beauty of Lisp comprehension. So it's what if you say what is Lisp comprehension? It's basically a for loop only, but syntax is really simplified and a compact way of making a list. Okay. So again, there is a question. You know the drill. Solve the question. If you have doubts, tell me. I'll answer. Okay, guys, come on. गाइस नेटवर्क तो चला नहीं गया मेरा. Am I audible?
Yes.
हाँ तो आंसर दे दो. ओके आंसर दे दो. यस यस टाइप कर रहे हो. यू कैन टाइप यस. Yeah, okay. So Harshal, that's a good answer. That is even the correct answer, but that is not using list comprehension, right? It is using regular for loop, right? Yeah, Apurva has given the right answer. Then yeah, Mayank है अपना. Mayank has given the right answer. Shreyas है. Great, great, great. Guys, that's really great. So say this is my answer, right? So अभी मैं तो ये सिर्फ L बोलूँगा. So what I've done here, like this is for I in range 1 to 26. If I%2 is 0, I am appending that number, right? That's the perfect answer. So I just need to print it. Okay, perfect. You can see all the even numbers from 1 to 25 are given here. Great. So this was about the basic control statements. तो अभी तक कोई भी डाउट है तो अभी पूछ लो, otherwise we'll move forward. Any doubt, guys? If you don't have a doubt, please tell me no, so can we can move forward. Okay, great. I can see 2-3 no's. Great. So we'll move on to the next part, which is functions. ठीक है, तो functions तो सबने सुना है, like if you do programming, not do programming, if you know maths, you know functions. ठीक है, so ये क्या है, लाइक मैथ्स के तो फंक्शंस थोड़े अलग रहते हैं, बट प्रोग्रामिंग के फंक्शंस बहुत इजी रहते हैं. ठीक है, लाइक इट्स नॉट लाइक योर ट्रिग्नोमेट्रिक फंक्शंस, इट्स रियली इजी. सो इफ यू सी हियर, लाइक फंक्शंस क्यों इस्तेमाल करना है, व्हाई टू यूज फंक्शंस. तो यू कैन सी the person right there, he's understanding his own code for 7 hours and it's still like you can see him. So you don't want to end up in that situation, right? So he was the one who didn't use functions. So ऐसा बोलते हैं ना कि दूध पी ले वरना ऐसा हो जाएगा, वैसा है use functions वरना ऐसा हो जाएगा. Okay, so like what are functions? We'll start with that. So functions is basically nothing but a block of code. तो मुझे कोई भी कोड करना है, I can club that into a function. ठीक है, then like ठीक है, तो मैं कॉपी पेस्ट कर सकता हूँ, यू कैन से. सो yeah, you can do that, but you will not understand what's going on, right? So that block of code can have a name, so it has a good logical separation of your code, like you can really see कि क्या क्या चल रहा है. ठीक है, then it enables code reusability, like you have to write a code only once and you can reuse that code again and again. Like ये कैसे होता है, we'll see it in the coding part. As I said, I don't like much theory. And abstraction can be achieved. So abstraction basically क्या होता है, it's just a fancy word of saying that you don't know what the hell is going on. ठीक है, so abstraction is like say I'm in ATM. You go to ATM, you withdraw money, but you don't know what is going inside the ATM, right? Unless and until you have seen YouTube videos. So that is basically abstraction. So function जब हम declare करते हैं, that is basically a basic stage of abstraction. So you can achieve a great amount of abstraction here. So moving on, so there are basically types of functions. ठीक है, so we can categorize functions into 2 types and those types are further defined. So पहला type जो है, that is the declaration वाला categorization. So there are 2 types of functions which are declared. Okay, so there is a user defined function and there is a predefined function. So अभी तक you have seen like append है, range है, update है, delete है, all of these are functions only, but have you defined them? No. So those are predefined functions. And we are going to define certain functions. Those are known as user-defined functions. Okay. And then there is a syntactical method. So syntactical में क्या होता है? There are 2 types. Like there are arguments and return type. And then there is again subcategorization, like with arguments, without arguments, with return type, without return type. So like those of you who know C, C++, Java, you might call those without return type functions as void functions. Okay. So like that is the basic what we can say differentiation between functions. Now there is a quick question here. Those of who you know this are legit gods because I had a really hard time figuring this out. So does anybody know the answer to this?
Right.
Yeah, so parameters we pass when we are defining the function and arguments we pass when we are calling the function.
Perfect, great. So that is like the perfect example of who was this? Divyanshu, right? So hats off, because I had a really hard time figuring this out when I was beginning with programming. So that's perfectly correct. So what is there are 2 types. There is a function definition or function declaration and a function calling, right? So when you declare a function, you can say the variables that you pass are parameters, whereas when you call the function, those become arguments. Now you don't need to like isko ratna nahi hai. You don't need to know this. These words are used interchangeably. So like if you don't know it, just okay, that's fine. That's good. Okay. So now coming to the coding part, my favorite one. So function definition. Okay. So I've defined a function here. Now, if you see, if you have any programming background of C++, you need to specify some data type, right? In declaring a function, and then you have your parameters, and then you have the bracket and your code. ऐसे करना पड़ता है. But I have simply used def here. Why is that? Because Python is a dynamically typed language, right? So it will automatically take your variable data type as per your input value. Similarly, the function's return value also will be dynamic. So we simply use the def keyword to declare a function. So what does def stands for? Define. Okay. So I can simply say def some function, pass some parameters, and I can do something. Okay. So that is how simple it is to declare a function. No data types, no prior knowledge of what it would be returning or if it would be returning anything. Nothing. Cool. So now I have declared a function say square. अभी मैंने इसमें num बोल के पैरामीटर डाल दिया. So what is this num? So what I am doing is I can change the value of this variable. ठीक है. So this is basically a variable only, but ये जो है वो value change करता रहेगा. Like if I pass 2, it will give me value as 2. If I pass 3, it will give me value as 3. So basically you have put a variable here. So you have infinite number of values and it is completely dependent on the person who is calling the function to what we can say define what the value should be according to his or her needs. ठीक है. So मैंने क्या किया, इधर मैंने function square बोल के एक function बोल दिया and I am printing the square of that function. So I am printing the num into num. ठीक है. So तो इतना ही है इसमें, तो इसमें कुछ explanation नहीं है वहाँ. So what it will happen, it will print square of 2 it is 4, square of 9, square of 3 it is 9, square of 4 it is 16. Simple. So as my arguments change, the parameter की value जो है वो भी change हो रही है और according to that my output is shown to. अब ये function जो है, अब से मुझे इस square के ऊपर कुछ operation perform करना है. So ये तो print कर रहा है, right? So it is not returning anything. Like I cannot perform any operation on this 4 because it is directly printing. So what I can do, I can return the value of that sum or of that square value, and I can further perform some operations on it. So ये कैसे होता है? So I have declared a function which is calculating the sum of two numbers. ठीक है? And then I'm returning the sum. I'm not printing it, I'm returning it. So इसका मतलब क्या होता है? I can assign this value, whatever it is, to a variable. इसका फायदा क्या है? Once I assign this value to a variable, I can perform any action with it. Like I want to append it in a list, I want to divide it by 2, multiply, subtract, कुछ भी कर सकता हूँ उसके साथ, right? So that is the basic advantage or the usage of return statement, if you will. तो ये तो return statement का हो गया. Then we have another kind of interesting thing in functions, which is optional parameters. तो optional parameters मतलब क्या होता है कि, as I said, the value of your parameter will depend on the argument you passed, right? But अब है ऐसा कोई case कि I don't explicitly want to mention say the parameter every time, the argument every time. ठीक है? Like say तुम्हारा class है अभी, so you have say 75 people and you want to make a list of roll numbers. ये ऐसा function. So अभी 75 स्ट्रेंथ है, दैट विल नॉट चेंज, राइट? बट अब यही फंक्शन दूसरे क्लास को यूज करना है, इट इज सेज इट हैज 80 पीपल, सो इट माइट चेंज फॉर देम. सो हर बार हम फंक्शन थोड़ी ना रीराइट करेंगे. वी नीड द फंक्शन टू बी जेनेरिक, इट नीड्स टू बी परफॉर्मिंग अ सिंपल लॉजिक विदाउट एक्चुअली getting involved in the what we can say minorities, right? तो क्या कर सकते हैं हम? We can use a optional parameter. So as you can see, instead of just declaring r here, I have initialized that r here equal to 10. So now if I call this function without passing any arguments, what will happen? It will take the parameter r equal to 10 by default, and it will print क्या प्रिंट कर रहा है वो? इवन नंबर्स प्रिंट कर रहा है 0 to 9 में, इफ यू सी. अच्छा 1 to 10 में, इफ यू सी. अब मैंने इधर 20 प्रिंट कर दिया, 20 पास कर दिया, so it will print from 1 to 20, it will override this 10 का value. So this is the beauty of optional parameters. Like if you have an option to either pass that parameter or not pass that parameter. ठीक है? तो अब भी बोलो फंक्शन में कुछ डाउट है क्या आगे जाने से पहले? ओके, आई कैन सी समथिंग. In Python, we need not declare the data type which we are passing in functions. Could you please elaborate? Like, I didn't get the question quite right. In Python, we need not declare the data type which we are passing to the functions. Yeah, right. As I said, कि Python जो है, it is a dynamically typed language, right? So like you can have a variable a which is holding a value 12, and then in the next step it can also hold the value say 2. Okay. So, yeah, I can't seem to type 2 right now. So this here the a has a data type of integer, whereas here the a has data type of string, right? Now this is possible because the data type of the variable is defined in the interpreter according to the value. So you need not explicitly define what type of parameter you are passing, because you can't, because the Python is a dynamically typed language, right? If it was a strictly typed language like C, C++, then you needed to define like int a or string a, right? Okay, Rahul, list declaration with loop का doubt जो है, we'll solve it but later, because right now we are in the flow of functions. So after the session, I'll address that doubt. Okay, if I don't, please remind me. Cool. So optional parameters. Okay. So if you see, I have initialized the r का parameter जो है, I have initialized it to 10 here. Okay. So if I don't pass any values in the arguments, what will happen? I'm calling the function here. It has one parameter, but I'm not passing any values in the brackets, right? So technically, it should give me an error. But as I've initialized this to 10, it is automatically taking the value by default as 10 and performing all the operations here. Okay, I hope you got it. Satyanshu, did you get it? Good. Okay. Now, one more part which is interesting in Python is that you can return multiple values. So if you have worked in C, C++, Java, you simply can't do this, right? So you might be quite amazed here. So you can return multiple values in Python. So say I'm performing some logic और मुझे ये XYZ coordinates मिल गए, ठीक है? So I can return this simply using like x, y, z. ऐसे return कर सकता हूँ directly. So it will return all three values. और इसका interesting part जो है, ये how is this processed? So interpreter will convert all these values into a tuple. If you see, this is a tuple, right? So round brackets means tuple. So this is converted into a tuple. So अभी मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ, I can say C बोल के मैंने एक वेरिएबल लिया, and then I can access all of these values using regular tuple syntax. If you see, it is returning 4. Okay, so that is a really simple way of returning multiple values, and it need not be of the same data type as well, because it can hold multiple data types. Okay, like if I make this a string, it will still work. Okay, great. So abhi you know the drill. This is a function you have to write. Just make it quick because 6:30 baj gaye. You have another session, so quickly tell me the answer to this. Meantime, okay, कौन है ये? श्रेयश, ये शायद तैयारी बैठा था. Great. So what is this? Okay, okay, great. That's the correct answer. Really great, Shreyash. So इधर हमने क्या किया है? We have defined a run rate function, and then he has passed two parameters, score and overs, or he is calculating the run rate ka formula and then is printing the run rate. So this was a really simple, what we can say, way of calculating run rate. And if you see, as I mentioned in the previous slide, if you remember, what is the usage of functions? So it is a logical separation and abstraction. So if you see, whenever I'm calling this run rate function, first of all, I know what this function is going to do. If I simply put this, I might need a little bit of time to understand what is going on. Okay. And second of all, I don't know the internal workings. Like abhi idhar hi declare kiya hai, isliye I can see. But if it is another file, if it is another computer, I don't know what is the internal working. But still, I am getting the results. Okay. So अच्छा okay, मैंने parameters pass नहीं की. But ठीक. So that was about functions. So I hope you guys don't have any doubts. Okay, yeah. Rahul is asking, is a function with parameters always an optional function? I didn't get your doubt. Like once you declare a function, you need to call it to use its functionality. I guess you're asking me that. So like if I don't call this function, nothing will happen. It will just declare it. Could you be a little bit more specific? Like what exactly do you want me to tell you? For using the result, I mean, can we always override the parameter? Yeah, see, if you have a optional parameter, then you can always override it. But if you, it's like optional hai na. So like in your questions, question paper mein, optional question hai, you can always solve it, but you have an option not to. Same hai. Like if it is an optional parameter, you can always give another value to it, but you have an option not to. Okay. I hope that clears it out. Okay. Dhruv पूछ रहा है, for using result again using return is compulsory. Yeah, because क्या होगा, if you simply print it, you cannot use it or you cannot perform any operations on it because you cannot assign that to a variable, right? So if you want to assign your value to a variable, you need to use return. So that is pretty much compulsory. Is there a case where there is no option to override? I don't think so, at least not that I know of, but that's an interesting question. I might look into it, but as far as I know, there is no case like that. If you want to do something like that, what you can do is simply remove the parameter altogether and make it like this, right? So that the user now cannot do anything to this. That is always an option. Like always remember that if you want to keep something as a parameter, it means that you don't know what is the exact value of it. Okay. Okay. So अच्छा और एक क्वेश्चन है, Ojas, can you please repost your question? अच्छा, अरे nothing is severe है, ठीक है. If you are learning for the first time, everything is all right. ठीक है. Even if you are not learning for the first time, then it is all right. So देखो, what we are doing is like we are returning something. ठीक है. तो ये return statement क्या करेगा? So it will return this value. Okay. तो this value can then be stored into something. अभी तूने प्रिंट किया तो इट विल डायरेक्टली प्रिंट इट टू द कंसोल, बट इट कैन नॉट बी स्टोर्ड टू एनीथिंग. एंड इफ यू हैव टू परफॉर्म सर्टेन ऑपरेशंस ऑन इट, यू नीड टू स्टोर दैट वैल्यू ऑन समथिंग. ठीक है. लाइक इट इज लाइक सेइंग आई वांट टू कैरी वाटर टू से मुंबई, assuming you are in Pune, and I don't have a water bottle, like I don't have a vessel. Can you do it? No, right? Because it will just spill everywhere. So it's like if you're returning something and you're storing it into a variable, this is your water and this is your vessel, this is your water bottle, and then you can take it to Mumbai. Okay. I hope that clears your doubt. Chalega. So now we'll move on to the actual fun part of this session, which is you are here to learn ML, right? तो अभी हम सीखेंगे numpy. So if you know basics or if you have even read about machine learning in even a little bit, you might have come across this name multiple times, right? क्योंकि Python में ML करना है तो this is like the base of anything. ठीक है. तो इसके बेसिक सीखेंगे, not too much in detail, इसके बेसिक सीखेंगे. ठीक है. So what is NumPy? तो NumPy basically है, it is a package for scientific computation. Like you have used you have calculated matrices, right? अभी 12th हुआ होगा फर्स्ट ईयर के लोगों का, तो matrices वगैरह कैलकुलेट किए होंगे, ट्रांसपोज, देन अपना मल्टीप्लिकेशन वगैरह, रो मेथड, कॉलम मेथड, हो गया होगा सब कुछ. तो ये अगर तुम्हें प्रोग्रामेटिकली करना है, if you want to do some matrix calculations programmatically, NumPy is like your friend here, because you will see why, okay, in just a second. So NumPy का बहुत अच्छा पार्ट है कि it supports multi-dimensional arrays. तो you can have n-dimensional arrays in NumPy. ठीक है. Then it provides multiple array operations like addition है, subtraction है, multiplication है. ये क्या क्या है we'll see in the coding part. And you might have a question like, why use NumPy if we have lists in Python, right? तो NumPy क्यों use करें? We already have lists. So the simple answer is it's ridiculously fast. Like Python list को say this is just a abstraction, but say Python list को एक दिन लगता है, तो NumPy को आधा ही घंटा लगेगा. It's that much faster than Python lists, generic lists. ठीक है. तो that is the most commonly used advantage of NumPy. Now हम क्या क्या सीखेंगे? What will we learn? So we will learn the basic array creation. We'll use the arrange function. Then we use we'll see the array operations as I said, and we'll see the reshape operation. ठीक है. तो ये क्या है मैं सब बताऊंगा. Don't worry. So if you had a laugh with the meme there, I'm not going to explain that. Okay, so let's move on to the coding part. So once you get the collab, be sure to check this out. This is the NumPy documentation. इधर link डाली है मैंने. So if you don't get anything, you can always refer to that. They have a really good documentation. ठीक है. तो अब क्या है, अभी तक जो हम यूज कर रहे थे, all the things we were using till now were inbuilt in Python. ठीक है. But NumPy is not inbuilt in Python, so you need to import it. So हम क्या कर रहे हैं, we are importing NumPy as NP. ठीक है. तो this is just a market trend. If you don't use this, it is perfectly fine, but it's recommended you do it like this because everybody does. Okay, so we are importing numpy. Okay, Jay, can you mute yourself?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Good. So we are importing numpy, and now we'll be declaring an array using numpy. ठीक है? तो अब मुझे बताओ guys, what is the difference between a list and an array? Does anybody know? जल्दी बोलो, चलो.
Array can only store one type of data, like one data type.
Perfect. I feel like मुझे first year में कुछ आता ही नहीं था. I'm hoping you are a first year student, okay? So if you are not, don't say anything. Okay, so that is perfectly right. Array can only store one data type, ठीक है? But list जो है वो string, float, double, boolean कुछ भी store कर सकता है एक साथ, ठीक है? तो अभी मैंने एक list declare कर दिया 1 2 3 4 बोल कर, और I want to convert this list into a numpy array. How can I do it? I can simply use np.array l. ठीक है? So once I do l, it will simply convert this into an array. So if I print it, you will see ये हमारा list है पहले वाला l, and this is our array 1 2 3 4. ठीक है? और if I say print type is a function to know what type of data type the given variable is. If I print a type, it is saying numpy.nd array. Okay, तो ये nd क्या है? तो it is a n dimensional array. So as I said, it supports multi-dimensional array. So n dimensional तक हम array बना सकते हैं. So this was basically array creation. तो array कैसे बनाते हैं? np.array, that's it. तो ये np क्या है? We have imported numpy as np. तो ये np है. ठीक है? Now if you see, as I said, array can only store one data type, right? Now if you see, I make this string, will this throw an error? Will it, guys? Yes, right? Now that is what you would think, but what does it do? NumPy is really smart. It sees that one data type is string, so it will automatically convert everything else to string. So that's really smart, the way of NumPy doing things. Okay. Now say I don't want this. I want integer array only. Like nahi chahiye mujhe string. So what I can do? I can use btype equal to int. I can explicitly specifying that I need an array of data type int. Once I do this, you will see the data type has been converted to int. Now, even though it is a string, it is converted that 4 to a integer. But if I have a string like say ASD है मेरी string, so it will throw an error key. I cannot convert ये ASD to number का. ठीक है? So this was like the basic of array creation in NumPy. तो अभी इसका डाउट नहीं लूंगा, थोड़ा सा आगे जाएंगे, फिर we'll take doubts. ठीक है? Now this is the same thing which I did explained earlier. It is a ND array. ठीक है? Now this was a single dimensional array, right? एक ही dimension है इसको, एक row और 4 column है. मतलब it's a single dimensional array. Now if I want to define a multi-dimensional array, how can I do it? I can have a list of lists with elements. So this is a list of multiple lists and it has certain elements. So if I print this, you can see it converted that into a 2-dimensional array. If I have another say list of lists, it will convert it into 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional. It can have n dimensions. Okay. So this was about like n-dimensional array tak you can do it. And again, this is just an example to illustrate like it is automatically converting the data type to float and string, जो पहले हमने देखा था. ठीक है? So this was about array creation. Now if you see here, I was doing an array of 1 2 3 4. It was a sequential list, right? उसका array कर रहा था. But now, as I said, I am really lazy. I don't want to type all that. I don't want to type all of this. So NumPy has got me here. So it says, okay, bhai, तुझे type नहीं करना, मत type कर. So it gives me a function called arrange. What this arrange will do, is basically like list comprehension only. If I pass the value say 5, it will make an array of 0 to 4. If I pass a value of 10, it will make a value of 0 to 9. And not only simple values, I can pass functions as well, like sign of 10 है कि या फिर a to b है, मतलब from I want 20 to 30 चाहिए मुझे, तो it will give me an array from 20 to 30, मतलब excluding 30. ठीक है. So this was the arrange function. Like इसमें I don't think कोई doubt है because we've cleared everything in list comprehension. अगर कोई है तो अभी पूछ लो. Cool. I am assuming you don't have interrupts. ठीक है. Now moving on to the array operations. तो अभी ये मैं टाइप नहीं करूंगा because these are simple operations which you have done in maths since 8th standard. So this is just the syntax which I am going to explain, not the exact operations. ठीक है. तो ये क्या है गाइज, मुझे चैट बॉक्स में फटाफट उत्तर चाहिए. क्या बोलते हैं उसको, रैपिड फायर. ये क्या कर रहा हूं मैं, अरे गाइज यार रैपिड फायर है, मैं अरे ये क्रिएट कर रहा हूं. ठीक है. देन आई एम यूजिंग द अरेंज फंक्शन, या अरे डिक्लेयर कर रहा हूं. थैंक्स निरंजन. कूल. सो ये मैं अरे डिक्लेयर कर रहा हूं, फिर आई एम यूजिंग एन अरेंज फंक्शन. ठीक है. अब ये दो अरे तो मेरे क्रिएट हो गए, ए और बी. अब आई वांट टू सब्ट्रैक्ट ईच वैल्यू, मैट्रिक्स सब्ट्रैक्शन करना है. सो आई कैन सिंपली डू सी इक्वल टू ए माइनस बी. ये क्या करेगा, मैट्रिक्स का सब्ट्रैक्शन कर देगा. ठीक है. सो I'll show you the output so that you will get it. A minus B किया, 20 minus 0 20, 30 minus 1 29. एलिमेंट टू एलिमेंट सब्ट्रैक्शन हो गया. ठीक है. फिर अभी मुझे क्या करना है, आई वांट टू डू से मैट्रिक्स एक्सपोनेंट, मतलब मुझे ईच एलिमेंट का स्क्वायर बनाना है. सो आई कैन सिंपली डू a star star 2. So this is just a syntax for squaring in Python. I can replace this by a star a. ठीक है. So this is just a syntax for squaring operation. I can do cube raised to 4th 6 10, ये बहुत हो जाएगा, but will stick to square. ठीक है. So I can do this. What it will do, it will square each element. ठीक है. अब मुझे क्या करना है, मुझे each element का multiplication करना है मैट्रिक्स में, मतलब 20 टाइम्स 0 30 टाइम्स 1 ऐसे करना है मल्टीप्लिकेशन. तो मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ, व्हाट आई कैन डू, यू सिंपली यूज द a स्टार b ऑपरेटर. ठीक है. सो व्हाट इट विल डू, इट विल गिव मी 400 नहीं किधर है, 0 30 80 150. मीनिंग क्या किया उसने, 20 इंटू 0 30 इंटू 1 40 इंटू 2. ठीक है. दिस इज सिंपल इनफ टू अंडरस्टैंड, बट you hardly use matrix element multiplication. What you use majorly is your matrix multiplication, right? Regular अपना first row first column first row second column वाला. So ये कैसे करना है, so अभी तो स्टार ऑपरेटर यूज कर लिया हमने. So numpy provides an at the rate operator. So if you do a at the rate b, it will do your matrix multiplication. और इसको एक और अल्टरनेटिव क्या है, you can use the dot product. So a डॉट, ये डॉट ऑपरेटर है, और देन द डॉट फंक्शन a डॉट b, मतलब ये अपना वेक्टर का डॉट प्रोडक्ट हो गया. सो लाइक अ 3 dimensional वेक्टर इज बेसिकली अ मैट्रिक्स ओनली ना. सो ये अपना a एट द रेट b और a डॉट b कुछ भी कर सकते हो, दैट इज वन एंड द सेम थिंग. ठीक है. सो ये क्या करेगा, इट विल अपना रेगुलर मैट्रिक्स मल्टीप्लिकेशन करके इट विल गिव यू अ रिजल्ट, एंड देन यू कैन multiply a scalar to the entire matrix. Like मुझे 5 से b मैट्रिक्स को मल्टीप्लाई करना है each element. So I can simply do b star equal to 5. तो ये क्या करेगा, 5 को मल्टीप्लाई कर देगा. You can do this with any like plus minus. ठीक है. So ये सब हो जाता है, डिवाइड भी हो जाएगा, like by 5 किया तो each element by 5 डिवाइड हो जाएगा. So this was about the basic array operations which NumPy provides. अब इसमें कोई doubt है क्या? If you have a maths doubt, I am not going to clarify it right now. You can refer Wolfram Alpha. If you have any syntactical doubt, please ask me. Is it clear, guys?
The star operator does corresponding elements multiplication only, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 20 times 0, 30 times 1, 40 times 2, ऐसे करेगा. ठीक है? प्रसाद यार तू सर.
What does that a@b do?
Yeah, a@b will do your matrix multiplication. Like हम करते हैं ना मैट्रिक्स में, फर्स्ट रो फर्स्ट कॉलम, फर्स्ट रो सेकंड कॉलम, उसका एडिशन करके पूरा स्केलर प्रोडक्ट निकलता है. If you don't recall it, just put matrix multiplication on Google. You'll get the formula and every like method to how to do it on Google really quickly. Okay, so that will do the matrix multiplication. ठीक है guys. Now this was about your array operations. अब we are going to use reshape function. So reshape क्या करता है? So reshape will basically change the shape of your array. So it's pretty evident what reshape will do, but still I'll explain it. It will change the shape of your array. मतलब क्या? अभी जो हम ऑपरेशन किए तो ये how many dimensions is it? It's a single dimensional array, right? तो we can have n dimensional arrays, right? So अभी ऐसा हो गया कि अभी तो मैंने वन डिमेंशनल एरे डिक्लेयर कर दिया क्यों, या फिर मुझे एक फंक्शन से 1D एरे मिल गया numpy का, बट मुझे यूज करना है, आई वांट टू यूज इट इन अ केस वेयर आई नीड 2 dimensional एरे से. सो व्हाट आई कैन डू, आई कैन सिंपली डू np.reshape. तो ये reshape क्या करेगा, अकॉर्डिंग टू द गिवन वैल्यूज इट विल डिवाइड इट इनटू अ नंबर ऑफ रोज एंड कॉलम्स. तो अभी आपने देखा कि इफ आई रन दिस, if you see my base array is of the dimension 3 by 2, like it has 3 rows 1 2 3 and 2 columns. ठीक है, and it has in total of 6 elements. So if I want to convert it into a single dimensional array, what I will do, I'll simply say np.reshape arr to 6. अब ये 6 क्या है, तो it is how many number of columns. I can explicitly define 6,1, like 6 columns 1 row, but numpy is really smart. So if my sum of indices, which like 3 by 2 है इधर, right, 3 by 2 है, तो इसका sum क्या है, इसका multiplication क्या है, 6 है. तो if it is equal to this, it will simply directly convert it. ठीक है, या फिर ऐसे याद रखो कि number of elements जो है उसका sum equal, number of elements equal to ये डाला तो 1 dimensional array हो जाएगा. ठीक है, अब 2 dimensional array कन्वर्ट करना है, सेम थिंग 2 3, 3 dimensional करना है, सेम 1 2 3, बट ऑलवेज कीप इन माइंड जो इंडाइसेस तुम डाल रहे हो उसका मल्टीप्लिकेशन हमेशा सेम होना चाहिए. लाइक इट शुड करस्पॉन्ड टू द ओरिजिनल एरेज डिमेंशन मल्टीप्लिकेशन, नहीं तो वो एरर देगा. क्योंकि क्या होगा, अगर इधर मैंने 5 डाल दिया तो इट विल कन्वर्ट दिस ओनली टू 5 कॉलम्स. ये एक एलिमेंट तो रह जाएगा ना, ये एक एलिमेंट रह गया तो वो उसको समझेगा नहीं क्या करूँ इसका 6 का. आई कांट जस्ट डिस्कार्ड इट ना, तो इट विल थ्रो एन एरर. इफ आई डू 7, एन एक्स्ट्रा स्पेस विल बी देयर, अगेन इट विल थ्रो एन एरर. ठीक है, सो दीज वर द बेसिक्स ऑफ व्हाट आई कैन से numpy which you would need for further for this what we can say course or session. So that was it from my side. If you have any doubts, please ask. Feel free to ask me. But if you don't have, that's pretty much it from my side. Okay. Thank you, guys.